Here's what's coming up next on Suitable Helper.
And when I saw you, when I got my hands on you, I said, there is an anointing on your life.
That was just a stepping stone. That was not where my true calling and my true purpose was.
How did you get like barbecue into the prison? Like you did all this stuff that no one's ever done. And you're a rebel, aren't you, Nicole?
Absolutely.
But when you're in the flow, how you completely lose track of time. Or people like you who see all the obstacles and just persevere. Does it require rebellion?
I think so. I truly think so. But it's also just being honest with yourself. Once you can say that I'm the only one stopping myself, why should I allow myself to hinder myself?
Hey there, everybody. My name is Danielle Pettiford, and you are watching the Suitable Helper podcast, where we support women in rediscovering their purpose, their passion, and their calling in marriage, life, and business. And I'm telling you, today's show you do not want to miss. We are talking to Nicole Murdaugh, who is actually a previous alumnus in both my programs, which is the Unearth program and Mastery. And let me tell you something, she is taking the world by storm. There's something so interesting and so powerful and amazing about when a woman steps into her purpose and her calling. Something just happens and ignites on the inside of her. And what we do here at Suitable Helper is we help women find that spark. So I don't want you to miss a moment of it. So go ahead, get your popcorn, get your soda, get your drink, get your water, get whatever you need to get so that you can settle into this message, because today we are talking about how to step boldly into your passion and your purpose. We'll be right back with Nicole Murdaugh. Welcome, Nicole. Danielle here. How are you, beautiful?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm so good. I am excited because I've been telling the folks in my intro about this amazing woman, but I didn't tell them exactly who you are and all that you're doing. So I want to give you a proper introduction because I want people to understand exactly what you're doing with all this purpose and passion. So let me just go ahead and read this bio. So Nicole is a passionate advocate for personal and spiritual growth, dedicated to helping individuals transform their lives. She is the founder of the Prison Legacy Foundation, a nonprofit organization that supports incarcerated men and their families through faith-based personal development and renewal. Married to husband Matthew for 9 years, they share a deep commitment to family and faith. Together, they're raising 2 children on their multi-generational family cattle ranch, where they embrace the values of hard work, integrity, and leaving a lasting legacy. Nicole's mission is to inspire hope and lasting change for others while honoring the heritage and values of her family. Wow. First of all, the fact that you are living on a multi-generational family ranch blows me away. Oh, I can only imagine what that might have looked like years ago, all the cows and all the chickens later. But it is such an amazing gift to have you be here, Nicole, on the other side of the great work that you're doing. And, today I really want this show to just be an inspiration. You are somebody that came into my life. And when I saw you, when I got my hands on you, I said, there is an anointing on your life. I don't know what it is, but God is about to peel these layers and show us both something. And let me tell you something, just a couple of years later, boom, bam, shakalam. So tell us a little bit about you. Why don't you just start with just a little bit of background about how you got started with the Prison Legacy Foundation?
Well, first of all, I'm a former teacher and a coach. So that's what I thought was my true purpose and what my true calling was. That's what I thought I was always going to do. But the things that I have, the trials and the tribulations and the things that have gone on throughout my life, God really showed up and showed out and showed me first and foremost that that was just a stepping stone. That was not where my true calling and my true purpose was. So he laid on a prison ministry for me. I had started being a volunteer for the prison fellowship in my local community, and just picked a random prison off of this list. A little bit more of a backstory: I had been praying, I made a prayer board. I was really trying to discover that my life, there's so much more to it, and that there's so many more capabilities, that I was just really limiting myself.
And let me
And
just jump right there, because you mentioned that prayer board.
yes,
And I don't want that to be a miss, because that's like the vision board, right? Like you were praying and
absolutely.
asking God, show me what my purpose is. What am I supposed to be doing here? So I love that in and of itself. But you created this prayer board, and then what happened?
I prayed over that daily between 6 and 8 months, and then I took the Unearthed Mastery class. And by doing that, I was trying to dig deep and find that true purpose. So, with your help, with the guidance of that class, my prayer board, one day in church, God put this prison fellowship doing their seminar in our church, and I was like, thank you, God, that is it. I picked this random church an hour and a half away from my hometown,
Wow.
off of a list. Did not know why it was for me, but I know it was for me. And then I
Mm,
started doing it. I did it for a year, and they ended up moving to another facility. And I knew I'm going to stay in that facility, but how? How am
right.
I?
So she's moving real fast, guys. I'm not letting her skip a detail, okay? Because the thing is that Nicole, you were working in this prison fellowship, and I was thinking to myself, what the heck? Where'd this come from? Because I didn't even know that you were doing that until you revealed that. And you were going and you were ministering to these guys who were in prison through someone else's program, right?
Absolutely.
While in the process, and this is something that is so important for people to understand, because you were in the Unearthed Mastery going through a process to understand and figure out what was your spark. Like, what's my passion? What am I supposed to be doing?
Yes.
And you were in this prison ministry doing that work and making tremendous impact. Like, tell everyone about like the turkey, like, was it, how did you get like barbecue into the prison? Like, you did all this stuff that no one's ever done.
Um, this prison is a rare gem. I mean, God moves through that facility. It is unbelievable. Um, I was able to bring in food for the program. I was able to do that, but there was also another man in the facility, and his mother fed 700 people. An incarcerated man and his mother fed 700 people in this facility. The warden allowed it, and they put groups together to cook it, to clean up, to bands
Mm.
playing. I mean, God is moving through that facility. My third week there, I had 47 men. Over three-fourths of them rededicated their life on that day, and half of them didn't even know who Jesus was.
Girlfriend, now you're talking. And here's the thing, because I'm thinking to myself, people might be thinking, who cares? Why should we care about these prisoners? Right? And then
Absolutely.
Nicole just said, like all these men who didn't even know who Jesus was, because somebody loved on them enough to take the time to hear their stories and to understand that they actually have loved ones, that families, wives, children, and they made some really bad decisions and they were thrown away by many. But somebody took some time to actually pour the word of God into them. And this thing, the way we're starting this is so important, because Nicole was trying to launch some other business.
Yes.
That's the
Women of
crazy part.
legacy. Women of legacy.
Talk about it.
Women of legacy. I really wanted to empower more women to get together and just fix each other's crowns. I live in a small rural town in Oklahoma, and I wanted to be able to get women together to do events. We don't have very many places to hold events. I wanted to have date nights. I had this big vision on just getting women together to have paint and sip parties, just all of these things just to bring the community together as women and along with our spouses and become more friends of the marriage. I was wanting to try and incorporate that. But I do have a Women of Legacy. The Department of Corrections approved for the first time to allow me to be in contact with the men in my class, women's family members. So I have a Marco Polo group with the women of these men. I mean, it's just a phenomenal thing. So I created Women of Legacy before I even started my Prison Legacy Foundation, and I didn't even know it, but God did.
God did. So I love this, and I want to slow us down, and I want to pull it back a little bit and pull the curtain back, because we're talking about how we can step boldly into our purpose and our passion. And sometimes, a lot of times, we just don't really know what our passions are. Like we go through things in life and we become very disconnected from ourselves, right? And so when we were little girls, we were passionate about this, and then somebody told us, oh, we can't afford that, so that passion went away. Or somebody told us, oh, you're not for that, and so this passion went away. And so we go through life basically just being buried under circumstances, and we lose touch with what we're really truly passionate about. And it takes us time to rediscover those things. I think one of the biggest issues for many of us is that instead of exploring and moving in a direction that would actually help us to discover ourselves again, we just sit somewhere stagnant. So you didn't do that. You started with that prayer board and you were praying on that thing. Next thing you know, you're at that prison fellowship and you're serving these men. You're still hungry. You jump into the Unearthed Mastery program. You're discovering and doing all these things, and something pops. Now, whenever there's any major transformation that takes place, there has to be a pivot, right? Somewhere along the journey, a pivot takes place. I know when I heard something from the Lord and I was just like, oh, I need to tell Nicole what God is saying, but I don't want to discourage her vision. But when did the pivot happen for you where you were like, this is what I'm supposed to do right over here?
Well, I think women are mothers, women are wives, and we get so into those roles that, like you said, we get kind of stand still and we kind of put everything on hold, put everything to the side, but then we stop educating ourselves, then we stop growing in that role of ourselves. And once I just said, I am not going to be that person anymore. I am going to figure this out. And with just not taking any no for an answer, not letting anything get in my way, because there was hiccups all along the way that could have definitely derailed me from any type of vision. And that is just the enemy coming straight full force because, he saw it too. But what really that pivotal moment was is I am worth doing something great. I am not going to doubt my abilities like I have before. And there's something greater. So I took a leap of faith and I saw it. Eventually, I never really truly got in the flow of anything, and being in that prison fellowship, I knew that is where I lose time. I lose track of time. I am so eager. My alarm goes off. I don't have to hit snooze. I am full forced, ready to go. That pivotal point right there was experiencing what you educated me on of what the flow is.
Mm,
And once I hit that flow, there was no turning back.
mm.
And the
That's so
flow
good.
is something that I am in every single time I enter that role. And it's
And you know
consistent.
what? Ooh, if we could only understand how powerful the flow is, we talk about it a lot, right? And oftentimes we're just doing work because it's our job, right? We're not in the flow. We have zero passion. We don't lose time. We're counting every second. Every time you look at your clock, it's 2 seconds later, that's it. But when you're in the flow, how you completely lose track of time, how you completely feel like you could do this with your eyes closed, you enjoy it. There's no work, there's no strain. It's a passion. Even though you're exhausted at the end of the day, for sure, you work hard. But when you're in the flow, there's something else that kicks in that drives you to get up every day. So you were saying that during your discovery, when you were kind of trying this and trying that and doing this, you were like, you just weren't in the flow. It's almost like there was another current pushing you back to the shore. Like, nope, not this. Try again, try again. But you started to zero in on over here, I'm in the flow. So when you discovered that you were in the flow, where did your mind start going, right? You were in this prison fellowship ministry. You were already creating content that was all your own freely, and they were welcoming of that. Talk about this transition and this aha moment for you.
Well, like you said, being able to create my own curriculum, and it's the things that I knew that with being in just the Unearthed program, discovering who you are and why you do the things that you do. And the things that I thought I knew was not correct. The things that I thought I was very well educated on, there was so much more to learn. So the things that I learned in Unearthed really opened my mind, my eyes. I was looking through different lenses that I've never done before. So the things that I wish I would have known in my past, I want to be able to educate others. So, the mistakes that we constantly make over and over again, if we educate ourselves and grow, those are going to be extremely limited. So, being able to do that aha moment, oh, they can relate. I can relate. They are understanding. They are educating themselves. This is the things that more people need to know about, and just seeing it click for others like it did for me, and how much it changed my life, my husband's life, made me a better human being, being on the road of who I was really truly destined to be, the best version of myself. I want to share that with anyone and everyone willing to listen. If I can help one out of the 47, I'm doing something right. So just the things that I wish I would have known in my past that I do know now needs to be taught. And that's just some of the curriculum you've taught me, that I've learned along the way, and just being able to establish that and be able to educate others on that was the true aha moment
Mm.
on that. First, we build our firm foundation with Jesus Christ. That's what we do. And then we move on to the self discovery phase. People stop educating themselves on themselves. And I think that is truly where a lot of people get lost and stuck.
You know what? They do. They stop educating themselves on themselves, or they've allowed somebody else to re educate them and tell them who they are. And so they've taken on that belief, and those beliefs result in actions and behaviors, right? So we're just stuck in these false narratives and beliefs, and we never step into curiosity, right? Because it's scary. Curiosity is scary. And we can't talk about passion and purpose without talking about fear, because it's ever present, right? And the craziest thing about it, I know that you've gone through a lot. You've jumped over a lot of hurdles actually in your journey, but many of those hurdles could have been full on stops for people, right? Where somebody said no, somebody said later, somebody said not interested, whatever the case may be. These things can be terrifying for people to approach asking these questions. So when it comes to fear, which are huge roadblocks for most of us, talk about in your journey to launching this Prison Legacy Foundation, what were some of the biggest things, hurdles that you had to overcome, that you had to face the fear and do it anyway?
Well, first and foremost, I never thought that I could transition from being a school teacher to a basketball softball coach. And, you know, the doubt always sets in. The devil always tempts you. You're not ever going to be anything else. You're not going to amount to anything else. You're not worthy enough. God doesn't use people like you for your faults and things like that. God gives second chances a million times, as long as you learn from it and move forward from it. And just getting over the self doubt that I can be a businesswoman.
Mm.
I can use what I've done, what I've learned, what I've overcome, and help others. It's the fact that you are the most qualified to be able to teach that because of what you've learned, what you've gone through. And once we realize that, and once that really sets in, there's nothing impossible as long as it's within God's alignment. And I know for a fact that this was in God's alignment. So just overcoming the fear of just do it. Just try it. You may fall, and just being able to tell myself that is possible, but you can try it in a different way and keep moving forward. So there's fear all the time. It's just overcoming it and not taking no for an answer. And that was my mindset. I'm going to
Absolutely.
get this accomplished one way or another, and I'm going to do it because I know I can. Once I
Absolutely.
got over the self-doubt, which
Yes.
got me nowhere.
Oh my gosh. And all that you're saying sounds so amazing and it's inspiring, but there are some ladies out here that they're literally paralyzed by fear or just lacking clarity. They just don't know where to start. Speak to that because I think we've all been there, right? In a place where we're just in a frenzy. What's your ground zero when you just don't know? What's your ground zero?
My ground zero is to make a list of what you would love to be able to do. That's what I started with, was to make a list of what I would love to be able to do and why I want to do that. So once I figured those things out, and it's so nice putting it on paper. It sounds so good on paper. But then you add the third column. What is stopping you? What is holding you back from doing those things? 9 times out of 10, it's just you. You are the one
Is that
that
right? It's just me?
it's just yourself doing it. That is what's stopping you. You are your roadblock.
You're
And
a rebel, aren't you, Nicole?
absolutely.
Does it
But
require rebellion?
I think so. I truly think so. But it's also just being honest with yourself. Once you can say that I'm the only one stopping myself, why should I allow myself to hinder myself?
Mhm. Mm. Lots of people, when it comes to trying to figure out their path, um, they come up with great ideas. Have you met people like that where like they've
Yes.
got an idea a month? Like, I've got this new idea, I'm doing this, I've got this passion, this idea, this project, and they just start it, whether they're writing it down or they start to tell everybody about it, and then they just lose zeal. Like after a while, like you don't hear anything else about it. What do you think the difference is between those folks that have a bunch of great ideas and never do anything with them, or people like you who see all the obstacles and just persevere, right? What is the difference? What does it take for somebody to actually force their way through to the thing that they believe God has for them?
I think it has a lot to do with being so overwhelmed. I think a lot of those ideas that people have, there's thousands of great ideas, but then you get so overwhelmed that they're all great ideas, but where do you start? I think prioritizing is what helps determine that factor, where you get less overwhelmed. Because I believe when people get overwhelmed, they just push it aside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you can, put those in order of importance, I think that is when you really focus on that first one. When you are able to focus on that first really great idea and you accomplish it, take that Sharpie and mark that off the list.
Mhm.
Then you are able to move to the second one. And that way you don't get so overwhelmed and just get overloaded and just say, forget it. I'm not even going to mess with it.
Yeah.
Because I was that person before. I'm not saying I am 35 years old and it has taken me 35 years to get to be able to understand that.
Mm.
And that's when it gets more important on prioritizing. And that's another thing that I make sure that I teach in my class is being able to prioritize, because they have time, but there's so many things that they want to try and get better at. Well, they cannot get better at X, Y, and Z if they don't start with their foundation with Christ first. Once
Mhm.
they get that established, we're going to check that off the list, but that's always something that you're going to be able to grow and continue. That's a never ending thing. And then we go to move on in healing, figuring out those things that we have not buried dead, that which is just still devouring. So we go and we prioritize that. And that's when it starts to click and get exciting, and
Mhm.
we get more focused on, we're really going to focus on task A before we're able to even go to B or C, because it will
Yeah.
not get done correctly.
No. And you know what else is interesting about people and just human nature, if we're honest, is that, our emotions just ebb and flow all the time, literally all day long. And so you could start out the gate, with all this passion about an idea, and it really is a great idea, and you are genuinely, inspired to do something about it. But along the way, because you just don't have all of the pieces, like you don't know how to put this amazing thing together by yourself, you can hit those stumbling blocks, right? I'm passionate about it and I know this, but I don't know that, or that. And so people get lost in that sauce and they figure they can't do it and they stop doing it. And that's one of the most powerful things about finding support. You know what I'm saying? Like one thing that I love about the work that you're doing is that, these guys, they've made some bad decisions and they're locked away, right? It's not like they can now make decisions to go out and do all these things. Somebody had to go reach to them, right? Somebody had to go meet them where they were and pull them up. Somebody had to be able to identify with them, gather other people who are in the same situation as them, make these guys hold each other accountable because they don't want to mess up this amazing opportunity. Now it's giving access to their spouses who need support and resources too, because I don't know what it must be like to be a woman, a wife, married to someone who is in prison. Your family has an opinion. Your friends have an opinion. You're by yourself by choice, many might say, because it's just like, leave them, just leave them behind. That's not what God told me to do. So a lot of times we have all these plans and we have all these ideas, and our confidence is under fire because we're just not surrounded by the right people to hold us up. Would you agree with that, number one? And would you talk a little bit about how the community that you've created is serving those families?
Absolutely. I can definitely agree and I can definitely relate because I'm an Enneagram 8, and in my past, in my thought process, I was able to get it all done by myself. The older I've got, the more educated I've got, which is just in the past few years learning this. There's some things that I am really, really good at, and there's some things that I'm really not good at. And I hinder so much if I try to do all of those things. So trying to find the other puzzle pieces, of recognizing I am not good at this, but she is. I'm going to bring her along. That way, it is so much better. She is so much better at that than I am, and it's going to make the whole process so much better and run more smoothly. So being able to find that support system is so crucial and effective to help all the others. It is able to, the women that I have found in this group, they are in this for a purpose. And the women in this group can all relate one way or another. It is a positive support system, which is what I think is extremely crucial in this environment, because like you said, the people back home are probably telling them, just move on. You're hindering yourself, you're hindering your family. Well, that's not what they want. That's not what they believe. But I have grandmothers in this group. I have daughters in this group. I have mothers, sisters, wives, all different types of females from all different types of situations, but all in there for the same purpose. So this community that is being built, they do the same exact curriculum that I teach in the facility. They do the same exact assignments that the men in my group do. That way it helps bridge that gap, because they only get a certain amount of phone calls. They need to make sure that time is very crucial, and they get to talk about their assignments together. They have questions they have to do together. They have scriptures they have to read every day and do soaps over. And they get to talk about that and compare, and it just, they're growing and educating themselves together. And that is a huge community. One thing that really was amazing is these women have never met each other in person, just on the Marco Polo app. They're from all over the state of Oklahoma. Keep that in mind. They have visitation on Saturdays and Sundays. This past Saturday, two of the women were there the exact same time and got to meet each other in person, and it was not pre planned. Tell me that isn't God bringing them together in a blessing. And they are both wives, with the men being their husbands in the same class. So it's just a
Wow.
phenomenal situation. And they literally had no idea that they were going to be there at the same exact time. It wasn't talked about, but they recognized each other from the Marco Polo app. So it was just an absolutely great opportunity that would not have happened. It would have just been another female at the meeting place, but it was so much more than that.
It
So
was.
now they have a connection.
And God is able to just knit these hearts together because of one person's obedience. And maybe we'll say it's one person's obedience, right? Maybe it's a bunch of people's obedience, to be honest, right? Because there are a lot of pieces at play. I think about this warden that you talk about all the time, who is just exceptional. Like, as you've grown, as you've grown through this journey, you've said so many things about how he's opened up the doors to do this and allow this, and I've never heard these stories before. And so by him being obedient, it opens you up to be able to do more. I know that even your husband has actually come to the prison and helped. This is a major move of God that is taking place because he knew that those wives needed to connect long before you knew who those wives were. Like, he knew that those wives needed community connection and support, that they couldn't turn to their moms or their sisters anymore because people just get weary of other folks in the family who are going through things. And now they have a place, a safe place. So, in this process, I'm just curious, was there any moment where you felt like, okay, I feel totally inadequate. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just showing up and just letting God use me, right? I talk about this all the time, this idea of faking it till you make it, because when it comes to us discovering our purpose and our passion, oftentimes we think we're supposed to be professionals already. I'm supposed to know all the things. It's supposed to be all polished and put together. Absolutely false, right? But that's one of the things that keeps us from moving forward. Oftentimes we just don't do because we don't feel competent enough. Have you ever felt yourself in any part of this journey where you felt like, I don't know what I'm doing, but all I do know is I'm showing up and God's with me and we'll see where the cards fall? Has that moment happened for you?
More times than I can count. Just off the top of my head, I am not an ordained minister or anything like that. I am just a licensed life coach, but I am trying to teach the biblical facts. And there has been tons of questions that are very good questions that sometimes I don't know the answer to, but every single time that I'm about to speak and it's something that I don't necessarily know that I know the answer, another person in the class answers a question, and then it just opens up a light, and it just opens up so much more. If I don't know the answer, someone in that class, which is an inmate, has an answer, and it just blows my mind and blows me away that that's God. That is, I mean, so many opportunities. The very first time I had this man that is 54 years old, and he has been incarcerated for over 30. He has had a very, very rough time, very rough childhood, didn't go to school, things like that, didn't go to school to read and write, never colored in a coloring book at 54 years old. Never rode a bike. And he was like, where was God when all these bad things happened to me? I don't believe in God. And for that first time, I had never experienced anything like that. And then I was almost at a loss for words because he's telling me all of these horrific things and all these things that we take for granted every single day, like coloring in a coloring book. So I just asked, can I pray with you right now? And he said, would you please? And I did, and it was God. It was God flowing through me, speaking to this man. We write journals every single day. He's just in tears. I mean, just bawling. And 2 weeks later, things had happened, and he started journaling them for me to read. I had brought him coloring books, and just these things so he can mark off his first list. He said there has been so many things that he cannot explain. Someone wrote him a letter saying, you are an absolute inspiration to me. You are a fire. You are God's true son. And I am watching and I am believing. I am seeing your growth. He hadn't seen any of that. He told me all of these things. He's like, these things that I don't know that's happening to me. And I was like, that's God. He is now a firm believer in Jesus Christ just after 4 weeks. Out of all of the negative things that he has thought, he has said, did not believe, and he said because of this class, it has changed his whole entire mindset in 4 weeks.
This is powerful, and it is just so thrilling to see how when we just step into our purpose, how God is waiting for us so that he can use us to create impact. Ladies, we are talking to Nicole Murdaugh. She is the founder of Legacy Prison Ministry, and we are going to come back. We're going to give you some tips on how you can step into your purpose and your passion right after this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We are talking to Nicole Murdaugh. She is somebody who stepped out boldly on the word of the Lord, who she was not sure what she was going to do. She was trying to find her way. She found her purpose and her passion in Legacy Prison Ministry. And so I'm really excited for her and all that she's doing. This foundation is going to be helping so many people, so many families, and she's just getting started. So, Nicole, this is the holiday season. And I mean, I'm sure that this is a really tough time for anybody who's going through anything. You know, for some people, and this is just across the board, I noticed that the holidays can bring a tremendous amount of joy, but also sadness. When people who we loved are not with us anymore, or in this case, you know, some of these wives, their husbands are locked away and they don't get to see dad, right? Their kids don't get to see dad. So talk about some of the initiatives that you're working on to kind of bring some relief to these families.
Well, right now I'm working on a project to provide each woman in my group a food basket that has everything in it, from a ham or a turkey to all the fixings, and I just hand deliver the basket to these women. That way they have less stress around this time to provide for their family dinner. That way I can just give it to them. It is all ready to go. All they have to do is just prepare it. And so I'm working on a project to be able to raise donations of items and monetary donations to help provide these food baskets. I am also working on a project I have 47 men in my class, and about, I think it was 30 men out of that 47 have children under the age of 15. And I'm trying to work on a project to get them gifts as well, the children. And then finally, the last project that I'm working on is, of course, it is definitely a tough time for these men as well as the family members being away, not being able to see their children open up gifts, and just a constant reminder these are someone's father, someone's husband, someone's grandson, son, uncle, all of these roles these men have that they are missing out on, and just wanting to make them feel worthy and make them feel, special, and that they get gifts as well. I'm trying to put together a care package because they have to provide with their own money their own hygiene products, which is, of course, your shampoo, the bars of soap, things like that. I am working on a care package of providing those items to give to them, but also a small meal for Christmas as well that
I love it.
the warden has allowed.
The warden, he please add him to the list
He is a
of gifts.
phenomenal human being.
Oh my
He is.
gosh. Oh my gosh. And let me just say, guys, like what you're saying, this Nicole is literally a whole boss lady because she's never done anything like this before. Like this is her, this lady, we're talking in under a year, goes from trying to figure out what she's going to do, getting inspired by the Lord with the idea and the mission, a concept to a full-blown nonprofit able to raise funds to support this cause that the Lord wanted supported. That is the power of stepping into your passion and purpose right there. And you can be a part of that. And we're going to actually leave, we'll actually look at the bottom. There'll be a link at the bottom for you guys to go ahead and scan or click so that you can be a part of what Nicole is doing. And it doesn't matter where you're at. You could be in all 50 states. It doesn't matter. Her ministry is out of Oklahoma, I believe, but definitely get involved in what God is doing. This is something that I learned a long time ago, that where there is an anointing, you want to dip your foot in your toe in the water like you just do. You want to be a part of a move of God. There's so many things going on in the world. People are doing all kinds of things and you don't know where it's coming from. But when you see God is moving in the lives of people, be a part of it. And also just step into your own purpose, right? You're hearing us talk about one person that heard the voice of God and said yes. And despite all of the challenges or whatever the circumstances, apprehension, confusion, she just kept pushing forward until she found some answers. And do you have all the answers yet, Nicole? Probably
Absolutely not.
Probably not. There's a lot more questions. There's a lot more things she's got to do, but she's doing it. She's not doing it alone. God's walking beside her, and me and all the other people that are doing all the things God has called us to do. We haven't figured it all out. We're just being obedient, and you can as well. So I do want to encourage you guys to get connected. We have a program. It's called the Unearth Mastery Program. It will completely transform what it is that you think you're capable of doing. You don't know. We know we have this, but we don't know. There's this expansive idea that God wants to lay on top of your little idea that you had. You just have to be vulnerable and actually be curious to discover what your spark is. So if you're interested, there's also a link below for you to discover more about how you can find your spark. Nicole, it has been so exciting to talk to you and to hear all about what you're doing this program. Can you just one more time tell us, how many weeks is this program, and what do you have to do to get involved as far as being a member? Do you have to be in this prison or that prison? Is it in every prison? Tell us how people who have family members that are locked away can get involved in this program.
Yes, so it is in Oklahoma, but the women's program that I have, which is Women of Legacy, is on a Marco Polo app. So it is something that can be from anywhere. And it's just being able to help bridge that gap. And that is something that is definitely capable of all 50 states. Um, there's other prisons that have caught wind of my Prison Legacy Foundation and would love for me to expand to others as well. I go 2 days a week to the one that I've been attending, which is in Atoka, Oklahoma, and they want me to start coming 2 days a week to the one that is down the road from it, and then it's just going to spread like wildfire. And I can only do 5 days a week, but this can definitely be spread. Each curriculum, it's a year-long program now. I was doing 6 months, but there's so much more that I want to add to it that is going to be so extremely beneficial. Towards the end of the program, we will do, I will help them put resumes together, and we will do mock interviews. So there is, helping them to get into the reintegration part of things. And so it is so much more than just a faith-based program. It's that and so much more with the self-discovery and just helping them be able to become the men God created them to be, because they can continue to build a legacy even though they are still behind the walls.
Absolutely. And it sounds like Nicole is going to need a lot of help. So if you are interested in supporting this ministry, and if you have a nonprofit yourself that is compatible, definitely please reach out. She has only 2 hands and 2 feet, just like the rest of us. And she has a beautiful family that she's raising, those beautiful boys and her husband. So she's doing the most, and she's being held up by the grace of God. But we can't do any of this alone. So if you are interested in supporting, definitely reach out. Nicole, it has been a pleasure to talk to you. And girl, we just need to get together on some personal stuff so I can check in with you, because you're doing all these big things. Like, you're just soaring. And I want to know, and I want to be a part of it. Thank you for joining us. Guys, thank you for tuning in to The Suitable Helper, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.